Right guys, the car's packed. As you can see, let's go fishing. Hello and welcome to my first ever fishing video on my new YouTube channel. I've just recently set up this channel to try and document my fishing over the course of the year, keep you guys up to date with what I've been up to and how I've been getting on. So I've come down to my local data hit lake, as you can see behind me here, somewhere that I've been fishing quite a bit this winter and had some pretty good success. It's a couple of acres, not more than that, a really nice stock of fish ranging from mid-doubles up to around mid-30s I believe, although there's rumoured to be bigger fish in here which don't really ever get caught. I think there's a mixture of strains of fish as well, so it keeps it interesting. You've got fully scaled mirrors, you've got some stockies which are really packing on the weight, and you know, they should be very big fish in a few years time. And also there's some lovely commons in here with little heart-shaped tails, so plenty to go at. I've come down for 24 hours, so just a fairly short session. We've got a little bit of a mild spell in the weather. We're still in February and it's been really cold. I've had quite a lot of frosty mornings on this lake, and the lake's frozen a few times and I had to break the ice to get the rods out of the water. So yeah, it's nice for a change to just wear a jumper and not have to be all wrapped up and not have to worry about the frost. So hopefully the fish think the same and they're going to wake up and have a little bit of a feed. I struggled the last couple of times I've been down whilst it's been cold, so hopefully this warm weather is going to wake them up slightly. There was a guy fishing last night in this swim, I believe, and he caught a fish, so I've actually jumped in behind him, as you do. I normally fish the other end of the lake, to be honest with you, but you can't ignore information like that. If you turn up and someone's packing up and they've caught one, you know, it might be the only area of the lake that holds fish at the moment, so I figured I'd come in here and you know, hopefully get some luck. It might not work out like that and I might wake up and move and go down the other end of the lake, but you know, I've made my choice, so at the moment we're sticking with it. I want to talk to you a little bit about the bait that I use. I'm very proud to be part of the Richworth baits team here in the UK, and Richworth set to go from strength to strength this year. They've got new management and a new media team, and there's lots of exciting stuff in the pipeline. I believe that a lot of their baits which were discontinued are now going to be relaunched, and also there's some new stuff in the pipeline, so very exciting. Been using Richworth baits for as long as I can remember, and I'm sure many of you remember them from back in the day. My first ever bait that I bought was actually a pot of Tutti Frutti pop-ups, and I caught fish with them straight away, so you know, I got my confidence quite early. And since the S-Core original was released about 5 years ago, I just, you know, my angling has really come on and my confidence in that bait is something else. I think the first time I ever used it I had 14 fish in 48 hours, so you can't ignore results like that. First time I took it to France I had a double take on the first night and I had a 39 and a 29 at the same time. So you know, when you start using a bait and you start catching like that, you kind of realise that it's something special, and I've not really changed much since using that bait, although I have tried last year the S-Core 2, which is the fish meal version. I believe it's got the same amino acid liquid in it, but it's made up of more fish meal type baits, and it's got Daphnia and some other goodies in there, and it's not really got a flavour, it's just kind of the smell of the ingredients that you get, so a bit more natural and quite good to trip up those bigger wary fish. I've also used KG1 last year and did quite well fishing with that, using pineapple pop-ups over the top. That seemed to work, but mostly I use a Richworth S-Core Original. It's just a bait that seems to work everywhere I've taken it, and yeah, I don't see the point changing if it's working for me. So I'll show you that a bit later. I also want to talk you through how I approach waters in the winter, and short sessions, you know, and the watercraft, how I deal with the bird life, because this lake is full of birds, coots and tufties and geese, and you know, I've had some problems there, so I'll talk to you about that, and also show you the rigs that I use and some of the presentations and how I go about my fishing. So I'm going to put the kettle on now and have a little sit down and a chill out, and I'll speak to you guys a little bit later on. Okay. Hiya guys, so it's a couple of hours after I last spoke to you. It's actually cooled down quite a lot now. I think it's gone down to about maybe 6 degrees, something like that, so I've actually had to put my coat on and a few extra layers to keep warm. But it's just starting to get dark. I think it's 25 past 5. Probably be dark about 6 tonight. As I said earlier, we're still in February, so it's still quite early to get dark. But I thought I'd take this opportunity to just show you one of the rigs that I use. It's a bit like a snowman rig. Not sure how well you can see that. There we go. So yeah, it's kind of a snowman. It's a blowback rig with a ring on the shank, and I've actually done a liner. It's coming out the side of the tubing there. Don't know if I can get that to focus for you, but yeah, so that comes out, and then you've got the ring on the shank, and then instead of a pop-up on the top, I've actually just done half a pop-up, trimmed it down. So I call it a half snowman, if you like. It's just a bit smaller, a bit more subtle, and not quite as buoyant. I don't really like it when the bait is wafting around everywhere. When a fish comes into the swim, you know, I want it to be kind of on the bottom and stay in place until they actually pick it up with their mouth. You know, if it's blowing around everywhere, I think it looks a bit unnatural, and it can sort of be missed by the fish. You know, if it's not kind of sat waiting for them, and also the rig can kind of tangle up and wrap around. So yeah, I just like I say, just do half a pop up like that, and it's a bit less buoyant, but it still gives it like a visual attraction, and a little bit of buoyancy to just negate the weight of the hook. And then, yeah, like I said, I've got the ring on the shank there, so it can, yeah, so it can just move back in a blowback, and it gives the hook lots of movement. A couple of blobs of putty and some stripped back braid, and that's about it really. It's quite simple. I'll talk you through how I tie it. So basically you pull off about, I guess, about 16 inches of the strippable braid, and tie and then strip back about 6 inches of the end of that, and then I tie a loop in that for the hair. I thread on my bait, so my half a pop-up and a 14mm S-Core bottom bait. Thread that on, put the hair stop in it, and then next thing is I take a ring, a 3mm oval rig ring. I bring that down and tie an overhand knot in that just about 5mm from the bait, so it gives it enough movement. Then next goes on the hook, so you put the point of the hook towards the bait through the rig ring, line it up on the shank where you want the ring to be. So here I've got it sort of opposite the barb roughly. So you line it up there, you hold it in place, pinch it with your fingers, and then tie the knotless knot. About 6 or 7 turns is about right. Then you get about a 15mm piece of shrink tube, and you pierce near the end of it through the side with a sharp baiting needle, and you take that down the hook length and come out the side so that you get the liner effect. And then simply tie a figure of 8 loop at the other end to attach to your quick chain swivel. A couple of blobs of putty on it and steam it all down, and that's about it really. It's quite simple. I'm sure you've seen a million videos on a blowback rig. I suppose my main difference is the half snowman instead of a whole one. The oval rig ring, which gives the hook a bit more, it kicks it over a bit more, and also having it coming out like that liner style. I think that just aids the turning, and I very rarely lose any fish on this rig, so something I've got a lot of confidence in, and it's done me most of my fish this winter, well probably 80% of my fish, and then all my other fish have come on the Witty pool rig, so I'll show you that one in a minute. Right guys, just a little update for you. I guess it's about 8 o'clock now. Just gonna tuck into some dinner in a minute. I've got a bit of last night's leftover chicken and chorizo paella, which is going to be nice. Jamie Oliver special, I think. So yeah, I'm just going to have dinner, but I thought I'd just update you on the fishing front. Not a lot's happened really. It's still quite early in the session. There's not really an awful lot of wind about, so the water's fairly flat calm, and you know, normally in those conditions you think it's quite good for spotting fish, because you might see bubbles or the odd little ripple where the fish are giving themselves away, but it's absolutely dead out there. I've not seen or heard anything apart from the birds, which you can probably hear behind me. They never shut up. You don't get an awful lot of sleep on this water. But yeah, you know, I think I've made the right decision going in this swim, because the guy caught from here last night and I've not seen anything anywhere else, you know, and with the fish not really showing and nothing much to go on, I think, you know, the best thing you can do is follow someone who's caught a fish. So I'm quite happy with my decision at the moment, and I'll be sure to be up at first light watching the water, see if I can see any signs anywhere. That's normally a good time to watch the water this time of year, and if I see fizzing or, you know, a fish show, which would be amazing, but I haven't seen one show on here for weeks and weeks, but yeah, if I see something show in the morning, I'll move for the remainder of my session, you know, because you can't catch what's not in front of you, you know, and if you see them somewhere, then chances are, you know, if there's one there, there'll be a load more. So if I do see them in the morning, I'll definitely be moving. But you know, as it stands, the wind's sort of pretty dead, and I think it's due to pick up and blow a little bit down this end of the lake, so it's probably a good thing that I'm going to be on the end of it. This time of year, as the water starts to warm, you know, the surface layers seem to warm up the fastest because they've got the sun on them, and you know, also the hot water rises, so that surface water that's a bit warmer, it will blow down the end of the lake where the wind's blowing, so you tend to get a few degrees warmer water on the end of the wind, and this time of year the fish really seek out that warmer water, and it can be the first place that the natural food starts to sort of grow again. You know, like there's a lot of snails in here and water boatmen and daphnia and all that sort of stuff, and they really like the sort of warmer water. It kind of triggers them to start hatching out and all that sort of thing, so the fish are always going to be following the natural food and following the warmth. So yeah, I think really the end of the wind in the spring is the place to be. You know, in winter you generally want to be on the back of the wind because the fish are sort of sheltered out of the cold, but as it starts sort of warming up, I mean we're still in February so it's not really warming up, but we've had a couple of days of slightly warmer weather, so you know the water has warmed slightly, and yeah, I feel like they should be on the end of the wind as the wind picks up during the night. It should sort of blow them onto me, and you know, and a guy, like I said, caught here last night, so it kind of proves that the theory sort of works. You know, they tend to be on the end of the wind. So yeah, I'm gonna sit back and have my dinner now, and hopefully speak to you guys in a bit. I'll show you the Witty pool rig that I use. I tend to have a couple of rods on the half snowman rig that I showed you, and then one on the Witty pool rig because it's fishing kind of up to snags where a lot of debris can fall in the water, like twigs and leaves, and you know you want to be popped up a little bit above that just to make sure that you're presented and the bait is available to the fish. And to be honest, I tend to catch on either a pop-up or a snowman on here, so it doesn't really matter, and I think it's more about having your bait available to the fish, so it's not snarled up in weed or anything on the bottom. So you have to think about what you're fishing over, and try and present your bait in the best possible way for that bottom of the lake, you know. So yeah, I'll show you that in a bit. I'm just going to have dinner and have a little chill out again, and I'll catch you guys soon. All right. Right guys, as promised, here's my Witty pool rig. Well, I say mine, it's actually famously been invented by Steve Renuard. Used to fish the famous Witty pool back in the day, and it's a rig made famous by him. There's been lots of different versions over the years. This is just my one. So what I've got is a section of coated braid here, around about 6 inches, a blob of putty in the middle there just to sort of help it kick away and to help it stay pinned down to the bottom. Moving along here, I've got a BB shot there, and then I've got 1.5 inches of shrink tubing which is steamed into a C shape there. You can see I've got a curved shanked hook there which is size 7 Nash Fang X. Nice and sharp, those hooks. I use Nash hooks pretty much all the time, to be honest with you. I've got a little hook ring swivel there, I don't know if you can see that, and then a little hook bead just stopping it more or less opposite the barb. A Richworth S-Core 14mm white pop-up, and that is held onto the hook ring swivel with, instead of dental floss, I've actually used some zig flow line from Nash. I find with dental floss, when you blob the end, it sort of has a bit of a burnt smell, and I don't really like that. I think it might put the fish off, you know, just my paranoia, I guess. So I tend to use the zig flow line. I mean, you could use fluorocarbon or normal mono, but I quite like that. You can actually just melt it down and blob it on top there, if you can see that, and it doesn't have the same smell that you get with dental floss or bait floss. So that's a little tip for you there. I'm not sure if anyone else does that. Be interesting to know, but yeah, perhaps you could let me know in the comments. I never use bait floss anymore, so yeah, that's the way that rig sits. It tends to sort of come up like that and sit like that, you know, and then because this is a semi-stiff material, it kicks it away nicely. And if you get picked up by the coots and stuff, which does tend to happen quite a lot on here, you know pretty much that it's going to reset itself every time. And even if a fish comes along and picks you up and gets away with it, you kind of know that it's going to reset itself. So I'm fairly confident in that rig, and yeah, I'd probably get maybe 30 to 40% of all my fish have been on this rig, and then all the rest have been on my half snowman rig. So yeah, just another string to your bow really, and it's good for fishing over slightly messy bottoms, you know, with a bit of low-lying weed or some debris from falling down, you know, falling out the trees or something like that. So yeah, that's another one to have a go at. Okay, I'll catch you soon. Hi guys, little treat for you here. I've decided to run a competition. So if you subscribe to the channel, I'll enter you into the draw, and in the next couple of months I will pick a winner and send you a message, and if you send me your address and everything, then I'll post it off to you. The prize is a tub of Richworth Escort original white pop-ups, and also a copy of Rob Malin's book One Last Cast, which is actually signed by Rob Malin himself. That was kindly donated to me by Phil Dunn, so if you're watching, thanks very much, Phil. He actually, kindly sent it to me. I didn't ask him to, but he'd finished with it and I wanted to read it, so very nice guy. So yeah, nice one, mate. And yeah, so that's the prize, the Rob Malin book and the Escort pop-ups. These are a bait that I've done really well on since I started using them. They've got a bit of a fruity smell to them, a little bit different to the Escort bottom baits, which I think is good, for fishing a snowman or something like that, or over the top of a bit of a scatter of boilies with a pop-up on. It's quite nice to have a slightly different contrasting bait, and they are quite bright, as you can see, which helps stand out, and particularly in the spring when the fish are just waking up and their eyesight is not at its best, it's good to have something bright and visual in the face to sort of catch their attention. So yeah, if you subscribe to the channel, I'll enter you into the draw, and you can win those great prizes. So just click subscribe, that's all you've got to do. Right, a little update for you guys. Don't get excited, I haven't caught a fish, unfortunately. No, I just thought I'd speak to you before I turn in for the night. It's about 11:30 now. Been sat up watching and listening, just looking for signs of anything showing, not really heard or seen much for quite a while. It's obviously being cold and everything, but as it's gone a little bit warmer today, I was just hoping the fish might be a bit more active and I might be able to see or hear where they are. So I've stayed up a little bit longer than I normally would, just to see if I can pick out a fish amongst all the noise of the birds and everything. It's quite hard to distinguish. I think the birds are getting ready for their spring rituals, and they're sort of trying to kill each other at the moment, so it's pretty hard to pick out a fish in amongst all that. But if you really look carefully and listen, you can sometimes tell where they are, and I wouldn't hesitate in moving if I suddenly heard them down the other end of the lake. Even in the night time, you've got to be on the fish. It doesn't matter. There's no point sitting for your session in the wrong swim if the fish are down the other end of the lake. So I'd up sticks and get moved with my head torch so I can see what I'm doing, and then at least I'd be confident that I'd be in the right spot, and then it's up to the fish then, isn't it, really? So yeah, I'm probably going to head to bed in a minute, but I just thought I'd let you know what I've been up to. Finished my dinner, that was really tasty. Tied up a couple of rigs and stuff, just so in case I catch a fish, I can be ready and cast out again. That's what I tend to do, really. If I get a fish, I'll get it in the net, detach the rig with a quick link, and and then cast out again, and then I sort the fish out once I've recast, because the feeding times can be so short at this time of year. You've got to maximise your time with the rig in the water. So I'd never do all my pictures and everything and then get the rod out. I tend to get the rod out straight away, and then the fish is quite safe in the net. I always put it on the bank and put something on the handle of the net so it can't get pulled in, sort of thing. And yeah, just making the most of the time, really, whilst the fish are feeding. Little windows of opportunity. Sometimes you can pick up extra fish like that, so that's a little tip for you. Yeah, so I'm going to turn in now. If I have one in the night, obviously you'll hear from me. I'll try and get some footage and some nice photos for you. But if not, I'll speak to you in the morning, and we'll talk a little bit more about Watercraft, and I'll show you a bit more of the lake. Okay, speak to you soon. Right guys, it's the middle of the night, about 2 AM I think. I was just dozing off, not fully asleep. The birds always kind of keep you awake on this lake. They're pretty noisy all through the night, so you don't really get much sleep. But anyway, the middle rod it's let out a few beeps, and I had a look, and the bobbin was right up to the top, and it just kind of stayed there. It didn't scream off or anything like that. Just stayed tight. And I turned my head torch on. You could see the tip was pulling round, so I picked it up, and solid resistance. And about 10 minutes later, managed to land this one. There we go. That's 27 pound 4 ounces. Caught on the half snowman rig that I showed you earlier. It's a 15mm Richworth Escore original bottom bait with half an Escore original pop-up on the top. That was a white one. And that blowback rig that I showed you, it was absolutely nailed in the bottom lip, and there's no way it was ever coming off. I think it was about an inch back, right in the centre. And to be honest with you, that rig, I haven't lost a fish for as long as I can remember, at least 2 years. So if you're looking for a rig that gives you confidence, and you know, you're losing a few fish, it's not a brag. It's just you know, something to try in your own fishing. I'll quickly show you the other side. It's pretty lively. Had it in the net for 5 minutes just while I was getting the camera out and stuff, so it's had a moment to wake up. There we go. 27 pound 4. And it's the 19th of February, so it's still cold, although we have had a warm spell lately, and as I thought, it's woken the fish up slightly, so happy days. Get on the Escore. Good morning, welcome back. Well buzzing to have had that fish in the night, you know, 27 pound 4 ounce in February, can't knock it. You know, still cold, although we did have a couple of days of warm weather, so I think what's happened is the surface layers have warmed up, and then you see how this wind's trickling from my left to right here. I think that's just bringing that warmer water down the lake, and I think the fish have started to follow it a bit, and they're seeking out the sort of the end of the wind now that it's warming up, you know, although it is due to go cold again next week, so it's going to feel much more wintry. But whilst we've got this weather window, I think I did the right thing following the wind. You know, I'd seen the forecast and kind of predicted which way the wind was going to be going, and also, you know, following that guy in here that caught a fish. I think that's an important point to make. You know, in the winter, if someone's catching, it always pays to talk to people when they're packing up and see how they've got on. And you know, he was kind enough to tell me that he'd caught one. Some people don't like talking about it, but you know, that's up to them. So yeah, it's a dull morning, quite chilly. This wind's a bit of a northwesterly, so it's got a bit of cold to it, but it's better than being an easterly or a northeasterly. You know, I much prefer it to be coming from the west. So yeah, as you can see, nice small little lake here. It's you know, 2 acres, like I said. I think there's an island here, and then it goes off down that way. I think probably sort of 200 to 250 yards long and about 60 yards wide, so it's not massive, but it's challenging. You know, you've got differing depths. It's quite shallow all over, but you know, it does go down to sort of 10 or 12 foot down the far end down there. The bird life, as you can hear and see there, is a nightmare. You don't really get a lot of sleep. I've been up all night just listening to that lot. And also the coots and the tufties, they dive on you, so it's a bit of a nightmare. I've got a green laser pen and I sort of shine it near them, and that tends to spook them off. I wouldn't shine it on them, I think that's a bit mean, but you shine it near them and they do tend to go. So that's a good little tip for you if you're struggling with birds. Well, don't we all struggle with birds, eh? Yeah, so there it is, one last look at the lake. It's quite a weedy water as well, although it's died back a bit this time of year. In the spring and the summer, it's right up to the surface, so it's hard to find any spots to fish. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just have a sit down and put the kettle on, and I'll have another chat to you in a minute when I'm sorted, and talk you through kind of my watercraft and my thinking and how I overcome some of these problems in a small lake like this. So I'll speak to you guys soon, okay? So, as promised, guys, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about watercraft. I think it's quite a broad subject. I'll try and simplify it down to what I do at this time of year, really. For me, watercraft starts at home before you go fishing. I check the weather every day, really, throughout the winter, and what I'm looking for is little windows in the cold, you know, a couple of days of warm weather, just enough to raise the water temperature by a couple of degrees. And then I'm looking to follow the wind, and hopefully that warmer water is getting blown down one end of the lake and the fish will follow it. As it gets more and more into the spring, this is even more important, really. I think the warmer areas of the lake tend to be where the natural food will start hatching first, and the weed growth will start coming up. So anywhere where you've got sun hitting the lake, you know, you can get the weed growing, and anything that's been lying dormant starts to hatch out again. So you really have to, you know, make a mental picture of the lake, and you know, go on things like Google Maps and look at the wind direction and, you know, the orientation of the lake, and see which way is facing south. And you know, the northeast corner is normally quite good because the southwest wind will blow into it. And you know, like I said, anywhere that the sun's on it, especially in the spring, fish are sort of looking to find warmth, as all creatures are. You know, we're warm-blooded and we like warmth, and you can actually use the birds to your advantage a little bit, although they can be a real pain. And you know, this lake has a bit of a problem with them. They can be a very helpful aid in locating the fish. If you've got nothing more to go on, if you just keep an eye on where the fish are, where the birds are, you can generally sort of find the warmer areas of the lake, or the sheltered areas, because the birds, especially in a really cold wind, will get out of it. And you know, on this lake you've got the island, and the birds will sort of hide around the back of the island in a cold wind, and also there's a point, and they sort of get around the back of the point as well. So that can be areas to investigate when you turn up at a lake, and you know, you have a look around. And I think it's important to say, you know, you're always told this in the magazines and everything, have a walk around the lake when you get there. And it's not just a case of a quick lap just for the sake of it. You know, you've got to actually stop in every swim and have a look and see if you can see any signs of bubbles and fizzing, and you know, just the subtlest little movement of the fish can give them away. And once you have sort of found them, you know, keeping records in a notebook and writing everything down, and you know, when you catch a fish, making a note of where from and what tactics and what the conditions were, and it can help you build up a bigger picture. And the longer you fish at a lake, the more you can sort of read how the fish are going to react to certain conditions. So yeah, that's kind of it really. I don't want to go into too much detail because, you know, we could talk for hours and hours about it, but really, you know, you're looking for the warmth, especially coming out of the winter into the spring. You're looking for weather changes, you know, a drop in pressure, wind picking up, that sort of thing, and looking to capitalise on these small windows of opportunity. As I said before, this lake's quite weedy and it's quite tricky getting good presentation at certain times of the year. So I like to present my half snowman rigs that I showed you in with a little stick slid down the hook link. I use S-Core crumb. I crush it in a quarter crusher and mix it with a bit of the S-Core serum, which is the pure amino acid attractor that's in the bait. Mix a little bit of that into the crumb and put that in a stick, and it seems to add a bit of attraction around the bait and sort of gets you extra bites in the winter, I think. And you know, it can be used with any bait, it doesn't have to be S-Core. Sorry about the birds. You really struggle to hear me, I imagine, with the birds going. But yeah, so for my half snowman rig, I use a little stick of crumb with some serum in it. And then for the Witty pool rig, I tend to just use a couple of PVA foam nuggets, and I put that out with a few boilies around it, and you know, I wait for the nuggets to float to the top, and then I can fire the boilies out to where those have floated up. So you can, it's quite a good tactic for roving around. If you see showing fish, you know, you can cast out your Witty pool rig to it, and because it's a pop-up, you can sort of be a bit more safe in the knowledge that it's presented right, and when the nuggets pop up, you can always fire a few freebies around as well. Although on this lake, with it being fairly small and quite pressured, the fish do tend to spook off when you cast to them, so you're better off building a picture in your mind of where the fish are going to turn up at certain times and in certain conditions, and you know, trying to get there before the fish really. This session, for instance, I looked at the weather and I knew that it had been warm for a couple of days, and I knew the wind was due to pick up a little bit and blow down the lake this end, so I always sort of had in my mind that I was going to go in this swim, and then when I turned up, the guy was just leaving who had caught one as well, so you know, that made up my mind, and I hadn't seen anything when walking around, so I went in here, and as you've seen, it's paid off. So yeah, well happy to have caught one. It's actually my first fish in February. I had quite a few through January. I think I had something like 5 20s and 2 30s and 2 doubles, all on the S-Core. And then it went really cold again. And you know, I didn't have anything in February. I was starting to worry. I even went on a runs water and had a few smaller fish just to keep my confidence going. But now it's all come good, you know, 19th of February, and I've had a 27 pounder, so happy with that. So yeah, I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about how I think about these sessions, the short sessions in winter, and how I go about choosing where to fish when I turn up to a lake. So I hope that helps you with your fishing, and I'll speak to you in a bit before I go. I'm leaving about lunchtime, but if I catch a fish, obviously I'll see you, but if not, I'll speak to you just before I leave. Okay, thanks guys, speak to you soon. Well, we're coming to the end of our session here on the Day Ticket Lake. I'll give you one last look down the lake there. I'm going to start slowly packing up now. I've got no more fish to report for you, unfortunately. There's very small windows of opportunity, I think, this time of year, and if you miss it, you know, you may not catch any fish at all. You've got to be sort of in the right place at the right time and have your presentation right and everything. It's really important to be accurate with your casting and, you know, make your presentation as good as it can be, so hopefully when fish do come along, you've got a good chance of hooking one. So I was very lucky last night to catch that 27 pounder. I'm well happy with that, and it's going to start warming up soon in the next few weeks, so hopefully I'll make another video for you when it's a little bit warmer. be nice to have a few more fish to report for you. They should start getting a bit easier to catch now. It's nearly March, you know, we should start getting some slightly warmer temperatures, and the water should start warming up. So I hope some of the things that I've talked about have been helpful for you in your own angling, and I hope the video has been enjoyable for you. Please bear with me whilst I'm learning how to make these videos. It's a big, you know, a steep learning curve for me, but hopefully this is a good start, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So thanks very much for watching. Please remember to subscribe by clicking the button down there, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you're notified when the new videos come out. And also by subscribing, you're entering into the competition to win a tub of pop-ups from Richworth, the Escort original pop-ups, and the signed Rob Mailing book. So yeah, if you subscribe, then I'll enter you into the competition, and a couple of months time, when I do my next video, I'll announce the winner. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. And thanks very much for watching. I'll give you one last look up and down the lake. Here we are. The wind's hacking down here now, so I feel like the fish should be in this corner, but it's all gone quiet. It was just a very short window opportunity, and we were very lucky, I think. And there we go, that's the other end of the lake there, and you can see the island with all the geese on there. A lot of them have gone up to the stock lake now. There was probably 50 or so of them there this morning, but they've sort of walked through my swim and gone up the hill, so at least it's a bit quieter. Okay, thanks very much for watching, guys. Obviously if I catch something else, I'll show you that, but if not, then thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Okay, cheers guys.